The moment the palace doors closed behind her, Meghan Markle felt a chill run down her spine. It wasn't the cold marble floors or the drafts slipping through the old windows. It was something heavier, something permanent. Reports say she sank into the velvet armchair, her hands trembling, clutching a letter that could change everything. But what was in that letter? And why had King Charles, her husband's father, made a decision that left her in tears? This wasn't just another royal announcement. This was history in the making. It's rare, almost unheard of, for a monarch to make a choice that directly affects the titles of their grandchildren. Yet that's exactly what's rumored to have happened. Archie and Lilibet, two young children born into the most scrutinized family in the world, could be denied the titles of prince and princess forever. Imagine that. Born into royalty and yet, according to sources, potentially stripped of a part of their very identity. Why now? Why King Charles? Why Meghan and her children? These are the questions that have gripped not only Buckingham Palace, but the entire world. For weeks, whispers have spread through the corridors of power, leaked conversations, subtle hints to the press. But no one expected a move this bold. And now, the public is left asking, is this about tradition, about protocol, or is it something far more personal? Think about it. A decision like this doesn't happen overnight. Monarchs weigh every word, every precedent, every ripple effect. And yet, insiders claim that this decision came after a series of private meetings, tense conversations, and yes, arguments behind closed doors. The atmosphere inside the palace was reportedly electric, charged with frustration, fear, and anticipation. For Meghan, it was devastating. For Harry, it was infuriating. And for the royal family at large, it might just have been a turning point that changes everything. But let's back up. This isn't just about Meghan Markle being upset or a couple of children potentially losing titles. This is about power, influence, and the careful balance of a centuries-old monarchy facing the modern world. In one corner, you have King Charles, a monarch navigating his own legacy, trying to assert authority in a family riddled with tension. In the other, you have Meghan, whose every move has been scrutinized since she first appeared on the royal stage. And somewhere in the middle stands Prince Harry, whose loyalty, love, and frustration may finally be reaching a breaking point. Sources suggest that the decision was not simply a whim. Charles is said to have consulted advisors, legal experts, and senior members of the family before coming to a conclusion. But what kind of advice leads a king to make a ruling that could prevent two children from being named prince and princess? That's what has the palace in turmoil and the public glued to every word. Because this isn't just about tradition, it's about a family feud played out on the world stage. And in the world of royalty, few things are more permanent than a king's decree. The story reaches further than just titles. It touches on identity, legacy, and the fragile relationships between the people involved. Meghan, reportedly, felt blindsided, despite having navigated royal protocol before. Insiders reveal moments of intense vulnerability, tears shed in private, whispered conversations with close friends, and a sense of disbelief that her children's futures could be reshaped by a single decision. And yet, some argue, this was inevitable. The royal institution has always been about precedence, hierarchy, and control. Meghan, however, challenged that status quo simply by existing in the modern world, outspoken, independent, and unafraid. And then there's the public angle. Headlines exploded almost immediately after the news leaked. Social media lit up with speculation, outrage, and divided opinion. People asked, could a monarch really block a title for grandchildren? And what does this mean for the monarchy's image? International reaction reportedly ranged from shock to quiet admiration for Charles's decisiveness. But somewhere in the noise, one question remained. Did anyone inside the palace truly anticipate the fallout? Meanwhile, Prince Harry's reaction is said to have been explosive. Sources claim he confronted senior advisors, sent urgent messages to his father, and pleaded for reconsideration. But in a family where protocol and hierarchy reign supreme, emotions can only go so far. For Harry, it's personal. For Meghan, it's both personal and public. And for the children, it's a reality that they may not even fully understand yet, but that will define their place in history. Imagine being told that, despite your birthright, a part of your identity is now uncertain. Imagine watching the news, reading the stories, hearing the whispers of a world that judges every glance and every word. This is the reality that Archie and Lilibet could face. And while they are far too young to fully grasp the situation, the consequences of King Charles's decision will ripple through their lives forever. But there's more beneath the surface. Insiders hint at correspondence, late-night meetings, and perhaps even secret conversations between the king and other senior royals. Some reports suggest that King William played a subtle, yet pivotal role, a hand in the background shaping the outcome, weighing family loyalty against tradition and protocol. And Meghan? She was left navigating a minefield she couldn't see entirely, forced to reconcile personal pain with public scrutiny. And yet, what makes this story truly compelling isn't just the decision itself, it's the human element. Meghan's heartbreak, Harry's rage, Charles's determination, these are emotional spikes that keep the world watching. Each player is motivated not only by duty, tradition, or legacy, but by something deeper: pride, love, fear, and the need to control a narrative larger than life itself. So, why does this matter to you, the viewer? Because this isn't just another royal headline. This is a glimpse into a world where private decisions have global repercussions. It's about power, family, and how a single choice can redefine history. And as we peel back the layers of this story, the deeper you look, the more shocking details emerge. Who said what? Who did what? And most importantly, what comes next? Because the truth is, the story is far from over. King Charles's decision has set events in motion that could lead to confrontations, reversals, and revelations that no one saw coming. Meghan is reportedly rallying her own allies. Harry is strategizing. And Archie and Lilibet? Their futures may hang in the balance, waiting for decisions made in rooms they cannot yet enter. And here's the twist that no one saw coming. This isn't just about titles. It's about influence, control, and legacy in a family whose every move is scrutinized worldwide. It's about who truly holds power when emotions clash with duty. It's about the moments behind closed doors, the whispered words, the letters, and the quiet strategies that could forever reshape the monarchy. By the end of this story, you'll see a monarchy at a crossroads: tradition versus modernity, protocol versus personal bonds, authority versus emotion. And you'll understand why a single decision, made by King Charles, could leave one woman in tears and alter the very framework of royal history. The storm didn't arrive suddenly. It had been brewing for months, quietly, in the hushed corridors of Buckingham Palace, in the whispered conversations at Kensington, and in the barely perceptible tensions during family gatherings. No one outside the inner circle knew the full extent of it, but insiders say the warning signs were there if you looked closely enough: subtle arguments over protocol, tense smiles during appearances, and a growing sense that Meghan Markle was pushing boundaries the royal family wasn't ready to accept. Imagine standing in a room filled with centuries of tradition, where every glance is measured, every word analyzed, and every decision could echo through history. That's what Meghan faced. And yet, according to palace sources, she didn't shy away. She spoke up, questioned old rules, and sought to carve out a role for herself that wasn't just ceremonial, a role where she had influence, a voice, and the ability to protect her family. That alone set the stage for a conflict that would become impossible to ignore. Insiders reveal that the tensions weren't only between Meghan and the palace staff. The real storm involved the brothers, Prince William and Prince Harry, each navigating their own loyalties and frustrations. William, carrying the weight of the heir apparent, was reportedly concerned about the public perception of the monarchy and the potential for scandal. Harry, fiercely protective of Meghan and their children, pushed back against what he saw as unnecessary rigidity. The friction between them, previously manageable, had reached a boiling point. And then came the letters. Secret letters, some allegedly sent late at night, between advisors and senior royals. One source claims that a letter to King Charles outlined concerns about the growing influence Meghan was having, subtly warning of the risk of public backlash. Another suggested a counterargument, emphasizing that ignoring Meghan's voice could lead to a family rift that would be impossible to repair. Reading through these letters was reportedly like watching a silent battle unfold on paper, each sentence a move in a high-stakes chess game. It's in this context that King Charles made the first of his decisive moves. Insiders suggest he had been considering the implications of Meghan's rising influence for months, weighing tradition against personal feelings and the stability of the monarchy against the demands of the public. What tipped the scale toward action? Sources hint at a combination of leaked interviews, media scrutiny, and private disagreements that made it impossible for the king to remain neutral. For Meghan, the early signs were subtle. Perhaps a cold look from a senior staff member, a curt message from an advisor, or a delayed response from her husband. Each incident was small, almost dismissible, but cumulatively they formed a pattern, a signal that her position, her influence, and her children's titles were under threat. Imagine feeling the weight of centuries pressing down on your shoulders while trying to protect not just yourself, but your family. That's the reality she reportedly faced. The palace staff, meanwhile, were caught in the middle. Some were loyal to tradition, others sympathetic to Meghan. According to insiders, secret meetings were held in private offices in the dead of night to discuss potential outcomes. Advisors debated the legality of blocking titles for grandchildren, the precedent it would set, and the potential fallout if the public caught wind of it. Every scenario was analyzed, every possible consequence weighed, yet the decision remained unclear until the storm reached its peak. One particularly telling moment, according to sources, involved a meeting between King Charles and senior advisors that lasted late into the night. The discussion reportedly became heated, with some warning the king that taking drastic action could alienate Harry and Meghan permanently. Others argued that failing to act would undermine the monarchy and send the wrong message about authority and tradition. Charles, for his part, remained resolute, insisting that the future of the monarchy demanded a firm hand. Meanwhile, Meghan's world was unraveling quietly. Friends and confidants report that she began noticing changes in the way she was treated, subtle, almost imperceptible slights, shifts in tone, and the occasional outright exclusion from conversations she had every right to attend. She reportedly questioned whether she could navigate this system without losing herself, without losing her children, without losing the man she married. The tension was tangible, and it only grew as the days passed. Adding fuel to the fire were the media leaks. Rumors about Meghan's influence, alleged conflicts with palace staff, and disagreements with her husband began circulating, creating a whirlwind of speculation. Each article, each headline, further intensified the storm. Sources claim that some of these leaks were deliberate, a tactic to pressure the king into making a decision. Others suggest they were the work of frustrated insiders who could no longer remain silent. Either way, the result was the same. A palace under siege, a family divided, and a public captivated by every twist. At the center of this storm, King Charles faced a monumental choice. According to palace insiders, he weighed his options carefully, considering the long-term implications for the monarchy, the message it would send to the public, and the precedent it would set for future generations. Would he assert his authority decisively, or would he attempt a compromise that could placate both sides? The tension in those private chambers reportedly reached a crescendo, with advisors holding their breath as the king prepared to make a decision that could not be undone. And then there was the human element. Meghan, Harry, and their children were not just figures in a story of power and tradition. They were people, navigating the same emotions anyone would feel when facing an uncertain future. Meghan reportedly struggled with feelings of isolation, frustration, and fear, while Harry wrestled with anger, loyalty, and the desire to protect his family. Even Charles, behind his regal composure, reportedly felt the weight of responsibility, the pressure of history, and the knowledge that one misstep could define his reign. Some of the most shocking details, according to insiders, involve the private moments that no one outside the palace ever witnessed. Late-night conversations, whispered warnings, and letters that never reached public view all played a role in shaping the outcome. Each interaction added another layer to the storm, intensifying the pressure on everyone involved and bringing the family to a breaking point. As the tension escalated, the stage was set for a decision that would ripple through the monarchy and the world. King Charles, after months of observation, consultation, and deliberation, was reportedly ready to act. The storm that had been building finally reached its peak, with everyone inside the palace, advisors, family members, and staff, waiting to see which direction the king would take. Would he enforce tradition at all costs? Or would he attempt a compromise that could preserve relationships but potentially undermine his authority? And yet, for all the discussions, letters, and late-night meetings, no one could predict the exact outcome. Meghan's reaction, Harry's response, and the fate of the children remained uncertain. The tension was palpable, the stakes impossibly high, and the consequences permanent. The palace was quiet, almost eerily so, on the night the decision was finalized. Reportedly, Meghan was alone in a private room, reading correspondence that would define not only her life but the lives of her children. Harry, across town, was pacing, waiting for news, anxious for any sign that the decision could be reversed. And King Charles, in his chambers, reportedly signed the decree that would set the course for the future, aware that history would remember this moment, and that the world was watching.